Hello everybody. Today we will be discussing our lesson on opioids. The Sumerians were the first known people to use the opium poppy plant 6,000 years ago. The Egyptians used it 2,500 years ago. The Greeks and the Romans also used it. The Chinese were the first to outlaw it just over 300 years ago. The Germans worked on extracting and concentrating it 290 years ago. Before, it was used primarily by smoking it, but pharmaceutical industries used it after this time for therapeutic uses. Two compounds came out of the poppy plant by the Germans, both morphine and later codeine. Americans at the Bayer Company formulated a higher concentration called diacetylcodeine just 125 years ago. Opioids are narcotics with two primary therapeutic purposes, which are analgesic uses and antitussive uses. Analgesic means pain relief. Antitussive means cough suppressant. Opioids allow neurotransmitters called endorphins to be released in the brain. Endorphins are endogenous substances in the digestive tract. These endorphins stimulate opioid receptors in the brain. Endorphins are released in greater numbers via opioids than the amount of endorphins that get released upon pain felt by eating hot peppers. Prescriptions are legally written by physicians for their patients. Their purpose mostly is used as a pain or pain management problem. People who have lots of surgeries and discomfort are allowed to have more of these written prescriptions. There could be conflict between varying medications, like in one particular case in Portsmouth, Ohio, with an overdose case. Abuse stems from the fact that narcotics stimulate opioid receptors and dopamine gets released as a response. Dopamine gives rewarding, pleasurable, and euphoric feelings to the person who uses the drug. Abusers end up using the drug beyond the feelings of not having pleasure. Thus, the abusers take more opioids. The ethical dilemma is that the drug abusers are ruining the use of pain management for people who do not abuse drugs. Pain management is commonly argued as a human right, but it is growing increasingly difficult who is actually in pain due to pain being a subjective perception. Physical dependence happens upon a person developing tolerances to lower doses of drugs. In other words, people get desensitized or get used to the lower doses of the drug. The drug user tolerates the lower doses while seeking higher doses for a pleasurable response. This hyped up pleasure response feels normal to the drug user. It does require either taking the drug for a longer period of time or a higher frequency of drug doses to form a physical dependence. When the drug user takes either no drugs or a small dose of drugs, it gives the feeling of withdrawal. Withdrawal gives sickening feelings to the drug user because the pleasure threshold has already been raised much higher. In other words, the higher dose of the drug gives the feeling of normality, as if the hyped up pleasure response from the drug is normal. Psychological dependence of drugs is all about doing an action called a compulsion to appease the burden of non pleasurable feelings. Oh no.